Det var en gång en liten pojke. Han föddes 3 sekunder efter sin stora syster. Så han föddes كتير صغير. Och ingen visste om han skulle överleva. Men så la de honom bredvid hans syster. Och hans hjärta började slå snabbare. Dum, dum, dum.
Vad är ert mål här?
Vi vill ha jobb.
Det här är inte ett jobb för vem som helst alltså.
Men vi är redo att göra vad som helst.
So hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Hobo, a wandering podcast about cinema. We are here at the 79th Venice Film Festival and we are very happy to introduce Isabella Carbonell and Silvana Imam, the director and main actress of the film Dogborn. And so thank you very much for being here today. And just to take a few minutes just to introduce the film to our audience, Dogborn tells the story of these two twins, homeless and invisible, constantly struggling to survive, and their dream of a real home leads to an unexpected job opportunity that sounds simple enough because they have to transport a good from point A to point B, but then when they actually realize what they're really transporting, an ethical dilemma arises. But first of all, I would like to start this conversation asking to Isabella. Yesterday you said that before the screening in Sala Perla that it took 13 years to develop this project, so why has it taken so long? And has the idea changed in all this time, the original idea?
The reason it's taken so long is because it took that long to find people who believed in not just the project, but in me. It's hard to get money for your film, even if it's low budget. It's very, very hard. And Sweden is a small country, and we have like a pool of directors that tend to be the directors that get to make films. And if you're not a celebrity or a brand, which I'm not, it's hard to get people to believe in you. So that's the reason. It wasn't something it didn't have anything to do with me or my process, that I wanted it to be 13 years. It was very involuntary. And then if the idea changed, absolutely it did. It was from the beginning, the film took place during like 2 years. And now it takes place during 2 days. So obviously it's been quite a journey there, yeah, for sure. But the main core has always been the same.
Sweden has long been, mired with the issue of human trafficking as a transit, as a source and transit and destination country. But I would like to know when you became aware of this problem, if Swedish people really want to address and discuss about this problem publicly.
I became aware of the problem when 2 things happened in my life. The first was that I saw a film that was huge in Sweden and Scandinavia. It's called Lilja Forever. It was a groundbreaking film by a director, Lukas Moodysson. And it's a film about trafficking. It's a film about a girl and her journey. And it's the most tragic, horrible film ever, but it's also a masterpiece. And it really shook Sweden. It was a huge deal. And for a good reason, it's amazing. But it also completely, in a very brutal way, shines a light on the huge demand that there is for young girls and children. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, a police officer who worked with trafficking came to our school. And all of this happened during the same month. I was 16. And she showed us pictures from crime scenes, and she told us about everything that she did. And I remember just being like, how is no one else freaking out about this? Why am I and people were like, oh yeah, that's so sad. And then a couple of months later, no one was talking about it, right? And I didn't understand it. I was like, but I'm still pissed off. Aren't you pissed off? And no one was. It was it was a trend to be pissed off about it for a while. And this was, I'm 35 now, and I'm still as pissed off now as I was then. So that's when it entered my life.
The two main characters are very different. The sister is a person who hardly keeps her emotion inside and who often screams and exposes them. The brother, on the other hand, does not speak and keeps everything with himself. And so I want to ask how you worked on the relationship between the characters, between you and the brother, which is revealed through small gesture, and how the director creates this dualism between the characters.
So how we worked on our relationship basically was we met a lot of times. We hung out, especially just me and Philip alone, and we got to know each other and just really, asked each other the most private questions and really formed that relationship before we even started filming. So that was a very essential part of it, and we both started to like each other, like for real, which is not something. I mean, I haven't acted before. This is my first film, but I've heard that it's not so common that that this happens. And then we had so many conversations with Isabella, and your directions were very concrete and direct, and you explained the relationship, and I really could lean on Philip on how, for example, because there were some scenes where like I don't know how to do this, or where do I like how should I basically do this? I have no idea. And so Philip was like, well, let's create a backstory for the twins. What did they do before? Where were they? Who were their parents? So we had that in mind all the time, and that made me love him even more, especially in the scene when we're sleeping next to each other and I'm telling him the story when he was born. It was so emotional for me. Like I literally started crying when that. But she didn't like it, so she cut that out. No, I don't know if you did. No, I'm kidding. No, but it was just very natural for me to have those emotions for him.
It was like making music in a certain way, because you are a rapper. And,
you know what? Club. Yeah, so actually, it was similar in that sense. When Isabella contacted me, I felt like, okay, this is a passionate person, and I follow passion. Like in my life, that's where I go, and this really was that kind of script. I hadn't read a script before, so I don't know really, but like the mood board and everything, I felt something, and in that sense, it's the same thing as making music, because I felt it. It was real for me. I felt that I actually could do this and give Sister, some kind of voice. And the story obviously is so important. And
And did you revisit in the film any of the themes you have always dealt with your music or something?
If I revisited.
If you found that some similarities with attention to marginalized people and.
I mean, yes and no. I come from Syria and Lithuania. My father is Syrian, mother Lithuanian. But I mean, I haven't been homeless and nothing of that sort. But of course, felt. I don't know how a homeless person feels. So it's really hard for me to. But like this, I've had a lot of anger that I could channel, like a real anger against to societal norms and all of these things that I could channel through this film. So in that sense, yes, but maybe not the particular homeless.
And Isabella, about the characters, you want to say something?
About the relationship you created between those two different personalities.
Yeah, I guess the main thing that's most fun for me to talk about is, I guess, just the gift of Silvanas and Philip's relationship. Because obviously this is something I worried about before we had cast, because Silvana came on board like 2015-16, but we didn't have a brother yet, right? So I was worried, like, are we going to find someone who's, one, right for the role, two, really gets along well with Silvana? Like, you can't just create chemistry out of nowhere. It has to be there, right? And I knew that we weren't going to be able to make this film if there wasn't a really genuine like trust and chemistry there. And I didn't want to put Silvana in like an uncomfortable situation as well. Like, you know, so I thought about this a lot. I was so worried about it. And then as soon as you two met, it was just like this weight just fell off my shoulders, because it was like, I mean, for me, watching from the outside, it was just like friendship at first. I don't know, friendship, connection at first sight, something. Like, it was just kinship at first sight. And yeah, that was just magic. And it made my job a lot easier and more fun. Yeah.
And of course, we discussed this earlier. The two main characters are involved in business of human trafficking, and when they actually discovers what they are transporting is a shock for them. But I think that maybe also the twins in that point of their life are commodities that are being sold to someone. They are selling their jobs in order to survive, and so have you thought about this kind of common destiny of I think of slavery that binds the two main characters, but also the girls they are carrying around? And
well, yeah, the main theme of the film that I would use when I pitched the film for so many years was that the main dilemma of this film is, do we sell ourselves in order to survive, or do we sell someone else in order to survive, to sell or be sold? Is that kind of what you were referring to? Yeah. And that is a dilemma that I obviously, well, you know, personally I haven't experienced it, thank God, but I have met people that, you know, unfortunately have had to consider those things. So I haven't experienced it personally, but just seeing that, what it can do to a person, it's affected me deeply, and no one should ever have to consider that.
Yeah.
And so the message of this film isn't that, you know, human traffickers are actually just victims. That's not what I'm trying to say. But these are two people that their choices are so limited that they actually have to make this choice. Do we sell ourselves or do we sell someone else? And they go with the second option at first, but obviously they realize that they're not capable.
Yeah. And I would like to ask you something about the visual style of the film, because you know the camera rarely settles once for a static shot, and it seems to typify the characters' thoughts, because even when they are still, they're always thinking about their next move, and their mind is always running. So how did you work on this aspect of the film, and also with your cinematographer?
Yeah, so what I reacted to there was when you said they're always considering their next move. I think that's interesting, because I think that when you live a life where you don't have a rooted sense of home, you're always thinking of your next move. And I think that's something that I reacted to when I, for a brief time, worked at a homeless shelter, that every single person there obviously was different and had their different journey, but they all had that thing in common, that they were constantly planning and thinking, okay, where am I going to go next? Where am I going to spend the night? Like, there's something, I just reacted to that when you said it. Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to the cinematography, what was the question in regards to the cinematography?
Yeah, the relationship you had with the cinematographer, and this kind of, you know, always rambling style.
Yeah, I think that was a result of us realizing quite early on in the shoot that we weren't going to be able to shoot this film in a traditional way. You know how it is traditionally, you do like a wide shot, a close-up, and like you cover it from all the, like how you normally do. And I think we realized about a week in that we weren't going to be able to do that here, because we didn't have enough money or time for that. So we had to really, I remember calling a meeting, and I was like, we have to shoot this guerrilla style. Like, we can't do this a traditional way. And I think that probably led to maybe that sense that you're referring to, because we started shooting it in a way that was more guerrilla style, basically, where we didn't like, okay, now we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. I mean, we had that to a certain extent, but most of the time we did it all in one sweep, you know? And obviously that affected, you know, the sound. The sound guy had to run around like a maniac, and, you know, it affected everything. And a lot of people didn't like it, but it was the only way we could make it work with the little time that we had. And I liked how it affected a lot of the cinematography, because it did give it maybe a little bit of that rushed feeling, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a final question for both of you. How did you felt yesterday when you finally watched the movie on a big screen here in Venice?
Oh my God.
I mean, where do I even begin? It was the most surreal, magical, weird, awesome experience of my life, and I've done some big shows, like, but this was just it was so cool. Just people seem to like it. I don't know. It was just so cool. I don't know. I was overwhelmed. I was really overwhelmed.
So the actor career can continue.
Yeah.
It depends on the script, you know.
Yeah,
if
of
there's
course,
a good
yeah.
script, then you get me on board. Like,
Just write to our Facebook.
exactly. Write me on Facebook. She wrote me on
the tip.
Facebook. That's
that's the suggestion.
like, you're gonna be in my film. I thought it was a spam. It's like, who's this weirdo? And then, I mean,
Well,
you did good.
Yeah, we are glad it worked out, and you have read the messages. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and good luck for the movie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Det var en gång en liten pojke. Han föddes 3 sekunder efter sin stora syster. Så han föddes كتير صغير. Och ingen visste om han skulle överleva. Men så la de honom bredvid hans syster. Och hans hjärta började slå snabbare. Dum, dum, dum.
Vad är ert mål här?
Vi vill ha jobb.
Det här är inte ett jobb för vem som helst alltså.
Men vi är redo att göra vad som helst.